Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our session. In this session, I'm going to talk about VMware and Intel coming together as a force behind digital transformation. But just to step back, what is the collaboration like between Intel and VMware? We have been collaborating together for over 10 years, in fact, 12 years now. And, we have aligned, two companies have aligned very well strategically. We have a shared vision in software-defined data centers, as well as hyper-converged. And together, we've come together to transform the data center. We started with virtualizing compute in the data center, and now we have also virtualized network and storage to deliver what we call the software-defined data center. We've also worked together a lot on hybrid cloud, or the multi-cloud as people would like to say today as well. And we've worked together to bring our products to the market. But really the heart of the collaboration is really at the center pillar there. It's really about the joint engineering and the deep engineering effort that we do from a product development perspective. So every generation of new products that Intel brings to the market, that VMware brings to the market, we add new capabilities and features so that it brings value to customers. But we do it together so that we make sure that everything that we put on is enabled on both sides. And we test it, we validate it. We have even gone one step further now that we have also guaranteed performance. That's the deep collaboration and alignment strategically between the two companies. And that has brought great value to our customers. Because when the product reaches the customers, all we see is that it just works. Right? But when we say it just works, I want you not to discount the fact that there's huge amount of engineering effort that goes behind it to make it just work. And as leaders in the industry, nobody else invests more resources than the two companies to make sure that everything works for the customer. But what does that mean to you as a partner? When you work with Intel and VMware, you're really representing the best of breed in the industry. Together, we lead the data center technology in storage, compute, and networking. You're backed by the two technology leaders with over 10 years of leadership track record there. And we continuously innovate and bring new products and new value to customer every generation. And when you sell our products, you're also backed by our global presence. Intel and VMware have global brand recognition. We have thousands of large customers, enterprise customers, as well as government customers. We have the largest ecosystem of partners out there, like yourself. And wherever you sell our products in the world, you will have support available for you. So that's the value that we bring to you as partners. But let's talk a little bit about the technology. I spoke a little bit about us transforming networking, accelerators or the CPU, and then storage. And we worked in a lot of these spaces. And I'll just pick a few of this. On the CPU side, there are features on the CPU that's important. Every generation, Intel brings a better, faster processor. We have more cores, and we can do more with the processors. But it's not about just the feeds and speeds. It's about feature sets that we put on the CPU that we enable on VMware software to bring maximum value to customers, to solve customers' problems. And I'll pick just a few of them. Here you see this thing called AVX. You'll notice that the CPUs in every generation may have more cores, but the clock speeds remain very much the same. And there's a reason for that, right? The CPUs can run very fast and we can keep it running very fast, but it depends on all the other pieces on the server platform as well. And you don't want the CPU to be waiting for data all the time. So clock speed is not just the answer, right? How do we make sure that, with the same clock speed, we can do more? And that's really where AVX comes in. Over generations, we have improved AVX. The latest one is AVX 512, but AVX is just an instruction set that allows us to crunch a bigger instruction set per clock cycle. So if the clock cycle doesn't go up, but we can crunch more instruction sets, it means higher performance, and that's how we deliver performance. So that's just one example, right? You see TXX, there is another feature called AES-NI as well. These are encryption technologies that we put on the CPU. And with this technology, what you can do is that today you can encrypt and decrypt all your data flows in the data center or in the internet or going into the internet, and you won't have a performance overhead to worry about. And that's because of this capability, right? And so today we encourage you to encrypt everything from security point of view. One other thing you see there is called Dpdk. Dpdk allows you to turn a standard industry-based Intel Xeon server into a switching appliance, right? And do this at wire speed. So you can turn any server with the right VMware software on top of it into a switching appliance or a routing appliance. And that has brought great value in the software-defined data center. On the storage side, I want to spend a little bit more time on storage because this is a key game changer. 2 years ago, Intel brought a technology into the market called Optane. And Optane is a memory technology that allows us to great in performance if you're, for example, you're a vSAN reseller, right? So we want you to think about Optane at least at the cache level so that you get most value to your customers for vSAN. And how do you, what are the vectors when you talk about looking at the best storage medium? There are 4 vectors here: predictable I/O, endurance, low latency, and high IOPS. And Optane actually addresses all these 4 vectors. Today in a NAND SSD, you find that as you load the SSD, the response time actually goes up. But for Optane, that doesn't happen. When you load the disk, the response time actually is flat. So you get very predictable I/O out there. And it's very predictable I/O is important for time-sensitive applications or real-time applications. And so you need to look at that. From an endurance point of view, endurance is about how your disk, whether your disk degrades over time. And how do we measure it? We measure it based on writing the entire disk in a day. I have to say that in the real application, you never write the entire disk multiple times in a day. But this is just an industry way of measuring the endurance. So on an Optane drive, you can do 60 writes of the entire disk in a day. Compare that to the traditional NAND, you can only do 3 writes before the disk starts to degrade. So you can see 60 versus 3. There's about a 20x improvement in endurance when you deploy Optane SSDs. And how do we address low latency and IOPS? It is because of the technology itself, how it's built, how we can write data into specific cells on the medium. And we don't have to do it like the way NAND does it. NAND today does it through a page by page. You have to go sequentially by page. And then when you want to rewrite new data, you actually have to purge the old data, kind of like a garbage disposal process, right? With Optane, you don't have to do that, right? You can rewrite onto the cell directly. And because of that, it gives you tremendous performance that is low latency and high IOPS. So you see the Optane actually addresses all these 4 vectors that we talked about. Furthermore, right, because of all the 4 vectors I talked about the endurance, when you deploy vSAN in a VCF solution, in the past you used to have to over-provision more drives, more servers, because you're worried about the endurance and the degradation of the drive. You don't have to worry about that now with Optane. With Optane, you can actually right-size your provision, and then which means you can have more consolidation of servers, less servers, better TCO, better cost value to the customer. I encourage you to go to obtainedifference.intel.com, that site, where you can see actually some of the examples and the numbers that we will show you there. And for those of you who want a deeper dive on this technology and how it is valuable for vSAN, I would encourage you to attend the the VMworld session that just happened. Is now on demand. This session called HCI 3135S, where we go deep dive into the technology and how it is valuable for vSAN. But that's not all. Optane comes in SSD, as I've talked about, but Optane also comes in memory DIMMs. all right? And that's what we call obtain persistent memory. So persistent memory is kind of like DRAM. It is almost as good performance as DRAM, but it is cost very much less. And with that, you can have a mixture of DRAM and persistent memory. And with that, you can have large footprint servers, memory footprint servers. And what's the advantage of that? The more memory you have on a server, the more VM sessions you can support on a server. And in our internal testing, we have shown that we can do over 25% more VMs on a server with the mixture of persistent memory and DRAM. Actually, in a real customer situation, we have a customer called SoftBank. SoftBank is a service provider in Japan. They have actually consolidated their servers and have actually now been able to support 300% more VMs in their server farms. We're not talking about just a few percentage here, right? 300% is a huge number and a huge value, but in that specific use case, right? And we think that you'll be able to see value if you use persistent memory as well. One side note here, this is not really on VCF, but if you deploy persistent memory in the same way for if you're selling Horizon VDI, again, that large footprint of memory on the server allows you to have more VDI sessions, right? And in a test that we have done, and we have white papers to show that, and you can reference the white papers of the Intel website, we have shown that we can support 80% more VDI sessions per server if you use persistent memory. So tremendous value there. We encourage you to look into this more. But enough about the technology, right? You're saying that as a reseller, what are we bringing to the table from a sales perspective? We are working with Ingram to deliver a lot of sales programs to you as a reseller, but I'll highlight one where Intel and VMware are coming together to deliver that. This is a program called Amplify. And what is Amplify? Amplify is a deployment incentive program for partners. We are actually giving you a rebate to deploy SDDC solutions on Intel server platforms. So how much money are we going to give you? We give you up to 16.5K, that's 16.5K US dollars per project, maximum of that amount per project to deploy the solutions that we talked about. If you hit, you bring, and the threshold is about $100,000, 100K deal that you bring to us. But even if you have smaller deals, 30K, 50K, we'll still give you something, right? You can still get some rebates out of that. How do you qualify? Who qualifies? Everyone qualifies, right? As long as you're a VMware reseller and you sell Intel-based servers, you qualify. So get in contact with your VMware account managers, or go to the VMware Partner Connect site where we have the whole process of this program, the guides, the process, how do you qualify for it, how do you submit your projects, right? So I look forward to getting a lot of submissions from all of you, and then getting your rebates, right? So at the end of the day, you know, we are bringing a lot of value from the technology and from the go-to-market side to US resellers. If you want more information, that's my contact email there, or you can reach out to Partner Connect from VMware to get all the information of all the things I talked about, as well as the program. So all I have to say now is thank you for your attention. Let's go make some money. I'll see you in the field. Thank you.